So what do you think about the Tojiro DP? So after spending a whole year with this Tojiro DP, we're finally going to go over what I think about this knife. Before we get started, if you haven't already, please consider supporting the channel by hitting that like and subscribe button. We also have an IG knife shop where we sell some knives to help support the channel, and we also have a merch store where we sell some swag where you can further support this madness. Now, quick disclaimer, I paid for this knife with my own money, so that way you guys know that my feedback and review is 100% honest and of my own. If you're not too familiar with Japanese knives, the Tojiro DP line is one of the most recommended lines for people who are just getting into the Japanese knife space. Tojiro is a renowned knife-making company based in Tsubami-sanjo in the Niigata Prefecture, and this DP series is actually one of their more economical lines. Now, with all that being said, after a year of use, this is what I think of the knife. Comfortability-wise, this knife has a very standard Western handle, but in comparison to their German counterparts, this handle is a little bit smaller. So for those of you guys who have smaller hands or just prefer a slightly smaller handle, this might be a good fit for you. Comfortability-wise, I wouldn't say that this is the most comfortable knife handle there is, but is also not one of the most uncomfortable. So it's kind of a pretty standard knife handle. Now, weight and balance-wise, this knife feels very nimble in the hands, but like most Western handles with a full tang, the knife tends to be a little bit more handle heavy. Next, let's talk about performance and maintenance. The edge on this knife is still the factory edge and has not been sharpened yet, but do keep in mind that I used this knife in rotation with a lot of other knives that I was reviewing throughout the year. The maintenance that I did for this knife, usually when it loses that pop, is I strap it on a leather strap, and when it gets to feel a little bit more dull, I used a leather strap with some strapping compound, which is a 1 micron diamond spray. So yeah. Now, from my personal experience, similar to most thinner knives, the Tojiro didn't have any issues going through most produce. Granted that I did save most of the heavier work for my Chinese-style chef knife. Let me preface this next part by saying that this is just my personal preference, and what you experience might be completely different than what I have, and that's totally fine. But when it comes to protein, when cutting with the factory edge, it just kind of glides and skids over the protein. I found that the edge didn't have that bite that a toothy edge produces. The knife was sharp nonetheless, but it just had a more refined edge, and personally I prefer a more aggressive cut. But this is also an extremely easy fix where you can just take the brand new knife and put it through the combos of whetstones or whatever sharpening method that you prefer to put the edge that you like on there. Lastly, let's go ahead and talk about the edge retention of this knife. This Tojiro DP is made out of VG10, and like most VG10 steel, it has decent edge retention capabilities. But in comparison to a different VG10 chef knife that I found the other chef knife to have just slightly better edge retention in comparison to the Tojiro. And it could be because there's a HRC different or a Rockwell hardness difference, and maybe the heat treat is a little different in comparison to the Tojiro. Now, with all that being said, after about 4 months, I found that I have to strap this knife a little bit more often. And at that 4-month mark, honestly, it could probably have used a touch-up on at least a higher grit stone. Now, with all that being said, let's go ahead and sharpen this baby up and see how well it sharpens. Okay, so first off, let's go over what we're going to use today. I have a King 800 Deluxe, and I also have a Suhiro 3K in here, and then I'm going to use a leather strap with some 1K or 1 micron strapping compound. It's a 1 micron diamond spray from Tokushi Knives. Alright, so the reason I am starting off with an 800 grit stone is because the edge is a little bit more dull than I usually use. So 800 first, and then we're going to touch it up on the 3K. So let's get started. And by no means am I a sharpening expert. I am very much just learning. So if you guys see anything that I can improve on, definitely let me know. I gotta tell you, this King 800 is possibly one of my favorite budget stones. Now let's go ahead and move on to the 3K. And this Suhiro 3K is another very great budget stone that was recommended to me by Eduardo from Jack Noise. Very, very knowledgeable guy. So if you guys want to go check out his stuff, I learned a lot, and he's given a lot of information and shared a lot of knowledge with me as far as sharpening goes. So thank you, 𝗙𝗟𝗟𝗪, for all your help. But I found that with the slight slurry, that it just works a little bit better. There we go. And from my experience with this knife, or with this stone, excuse me, that even though it is a softer stone, it's actually very, very fast. Like I said, this leather strap has a 1 micron diamond spray on it, and this leather strap came from 𝐇𝐄𝐋𝐏 knife. So thank you, 𝐇𝐄𝐋𝐏 knife, for this awesome, awesome leather strap. Great, great people over there at 𝐇𝐄𝐋𝐏 knives. So definitely check them out. And just like in my stropping video that you can check out here, very light pressure. Alright, standing paper cut test, like always. I have found that the 800 3K combo is one of my favorites personally. If you guys have any recommendations, I would love to hear it. I'm always looking for new stones to try out. I've been looking to try out some of the Japanese knife import stones as well. I've heard great things about them. As you can see, no issue there. And no issue there. Okay, so as you guys can see, the knife sharpened very easily, took on a very nice edge, and it's kind of what I expected from VG10. I've heard nothing but great things about VG10, and it's very easy to sharpen, takes on a nice edge, and has decent edge retention. And that's exactly what I got out of this knife. Now, with all this being said, I will be selling this knife on our IG knife shop, 𝗙𝐿. And as you can see, it has a fresh edge on it. I will be going through fixing some of the blemishes, crowning the spine, rounding off the choil, and I'll be selling this knife at a discount. So if you guys are interested, like I said, it's going to be on our IG knife shop, 𝗙𝐿. So yeah, keep an eye out for it. And this concludes our video for the week. And if you guys do like this video, please hit that like and subscribe button. It will mean the world to me. It'll help me support all of this madness. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.